welcome to the Birdland Network, where we talk all things Orioles and Major League Baseball. So, opening day is about 10 days away. We've got about 5 or 6 spring training games left to go, and I thought now would be a good time for me to kind of give you my observations of what I've seen throughout spring training so far. I'm going to give you my positives and some of the things I'm a little bit concerned about, some of my concerns. But before we do that, if you are new here, please consider subscribing to the channel. Just hit that subscribe button and that bell notification. That way, every time we go live or do a new video, you'll be notified. And please give us a thumbs up. It definitely helps the video. So again, we're about 10 days out from opening day, March 27th, with probably, I think it's about 5 to 6 more spring training games to go. So the games are dwindling down. We're almost to the point now where we're going to start talking about rosters being set, predictions on the season. I'll have a video on that coming up as well. And I thought I'd give you an overview of what I've seen throughout spring training. The games I've watched, what I've read, what I've seen, highlights, things of that nature. And we'll start with the positive stuff. I want to start with all the good positive stuff first. We'll go there, and then I'll get into my concerns. But let's start with positives. Again, a lot of this is going to be individual player positive. Some of the concerns are going to be more on a group level for sure. So on the encouraging positive side, I want to start with Sagano, the Japanese pitcher Tomoyuki Sagano, who came over. He's been looking really, really good. 10 and a third innings pitched, 0 ERA with 11 Ks and 3 walks. He's looked really good. His command is exactly what we expected. Just as advertised, he's been fantastic so far. And I think he's going to be a really good 4 or 5 starter for the Orioles this year. But he's looked really, really good. Not overpowering, but that's not his thing. But I like what I see so far out of Sagano. I want to now move on to Ryan Mountcastle. I got to tell you, Mounties looks different this year. He just does. Mountie looks different. He's really, really playing well. Got to give him credit. We know his defense over at first is really good. But I'm not sure if it's a physical or mental thing, but he seems much more relaxed and much more confident this spring training. 3 home runs, 10 RBIs, batting .290 and 31 at-bats. I'm sure his confidence and his attitude is in a good place, especially with the left field wall being moved in. So, Mounties looked really good this spring, and it's nice to see, and hopefully he carries it over into the season. I want to talk now about Samuel Basallo. Basallo, this kid, the hype is real. He is really, really going to be an incredible player for the Orioles. Saw him yesterday. I was at a spring training game yesterday for the Orioles against the Tigers in Lakeland, Florida. He's a monster. And he just hits tape measure home runs. What a great, great kid. The pitchers love throwing to him as well because he's such a large target. He's got a really strong arm. And the biggest thing is he's getting those important at-bats at the major league level in spring training against major league pitching. And I like to see that. I think that's big for him. He's going to get that experience, and ultimately it's going to help him in the long run when he gets called up, which I'm assuming he'll be this year. But he looks really good. Really, really good. For a 20-year-old, he's doing really well. Next, I want to talk about Adley Rutschman. Rutschman, like Mountie, he just looks different this year. He's bigger. He's more confident. He's stronger. He seems healthy, both mentally and physically. We know how his season ended last year. He didn't have a good second half at all. We didn't know if it was injuries or what it was, but he's better this year. He's playing really, really well, and he's just having an excellent, excellent spring. 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, 4 walks, and 30 at-bats, and he's hitting .367. So Rutsch looks great, and I'm sure he's ready for the season to start. Heston Kjerstad's another one. I think he's hitting really well in spring training, and he's getting those important at-bats that he needs. He's going to get his chance this year to be that 4th outfielder, so he's going to DH, he's going to play in the outfield. He's going to get his opportunities. And he's getting valuable playing time right now. He's got a lot of at-bats. He's hitting well. He's having a good spring, and let's just hope that it carries over into the season for him. I think it will. The next 3 guys I want to talk about, the next 2 guys I want to talk about, Jordan Westburg and Tyler O'Neill. For Westburg, he was slowed a little bit early on with some nagging injuries, but he's now back in the lineup. He's steady. Does his normal thing. He looks good. He's hitting to all fields, playing a really good third base. It's just a normal spring training for Westburg. He looks awesome. Tyler O'Neill, of course, he was the big free agent pickup for the Orioles. Slowed, again, kind of like Westburg with some nagging injuries, but he's back in the lineup for spring training as well. I think he's hitting like 368 this spring. Not really knocking the ball out of the ballpark, but the power will come as the season progresses. But O'Neill's looked pretty good so far. Let's hope he can get in to a lot of games. I think he played in 113 games last year for the Red Sox. If he's somewhere around that number or a little bit more, I'll be really happy with that. And last but not least, on the positive side, we got to talk about Jackson Holliday. Here's a guy that's having a nice, quiet spring training. And I think that's a good thing. What I mean by quiet is, I'm talking about hype, media attention, all the fanfare. He doesn't have it this year. This year, he's just one of the guys. He's going out there, he's playing ball, he's playing second base. He doesn't have to worry about being the number one overall pick, the number one prospect in baseball, the first this, the first that. He's debuting here, debuting there, all the fanfare, all the media. He doesn't have to worry about this year. He can relax, just be one of the guys and go out and play. And I think that's been really big for him this spring training. No pressure, no eyes on him at all. And he can just go out there and have a good day and have a nice spring training. And he's put up a really nice spring training. He's hitting 314. He's got a home run, 3 RBIs, and 35 at-bats with 2 steals. So I'm real happy with where Jackson Holliday is this spring. So now that we've talked about our positives, I kind of got to get into the concerns that I've seen this spring training. And I think a lot of this is obvious stuff, but it's concerns that I worry will carry into the season. And let's start with the elephant in the room, and that's the injury side of things. Look, I always say the best ability is availability. Doesn't matter how good you are. If you're not on the field, you're not helping your team. You can have all the talent in the world. If you're not on the field, you're not helping the team. We need your ability on the field. And I bring that up because the Orioles, it's not that I'm concerned about the number of injuries. I'm concerned more with the specific players that are injured. Specifically, Gunnar Henderson, Grayson Rodriguez, and Andrew Kittredge. Now, I know Mateo and Kyle Bradish and Tyler Wells and Trevor Rogers are out, but we knew they were kind of going to be a while anyway. But these 3 guys here, Rodriguez, Gunnar, and Kittredge, these are big blows to the Orioles, and I'll kind of go over why. Of course, Gunnar is he's the starting shortstop. He's your MVP candidate. He's one of the faces of the team. This is a guy he's your big bopper. He's your MVP guy. Incredible season last year, the most valuable Oriole. They need him at shortstop. But my worry is he doesn't have enough at-bats in spring training. We've got 6 games left in spring training, and he still isn't hitting. He's not going to get the required amount of at-bats to start this season with the Orioles. I just don't see how it's going to happen, and that's a worry for me. I personally think he's going to start the season on the injured list. I think he's going to miss the entire Toronto series, opening series in Toronto. I do. I just think he's going to miss that entire series. Now, whether that's because he's on the injured list or whether it's they put him on the roster and he just doesn't play, I don't know. But I just don't see how he's going to get the required at-bats to be ready for opening day. And that's a bummer because the Orioles really need him. Next, I want to talk about Grayson Rodriguez. Now, with Grayson Rodriguez, this is a big deal. Grayson he can't stay healthy with the Orioles. He just can't. He's been 3 seasons now with the O's. All 3 seasons he's been on the IL every single year. I'm worried that he's going to become one of these guys that we just can't count on to give us a full season. And that's unfortunate because his ability is there, and he's been great at times, and he's gotten rocked at times. The ability is there, but he just can't stay on the field, and that's a problem. The Orioles need someone that they can count on, and I just don't know that Grayson's going to be that guy. He's going to start the season on the injured list, and we'll see how long it takes before he's back in the rotation. But so far, has he lived up to his potential? I don't think that he has. I think that he's been good at times, he's been bad at times, but he hasn't been available a lot, and that's an issue. And then last, I want to talk a little bit about Andrew Kittredge. Of course, the Orioles signed him to a 1-year, $10 million deal. I think it's $9 million with a $1 million buyout. This is the guy that they kind of wanted him to be that setup guy and then sometimes close for Felix Bautista when Bautista was getting a rest in the bullpen, kind of being that bridge to Bautista as well in those high leverage situations. He's not going to do that now. He's on the injured list, and he's on the injured list until June or July. He had knee surgery, and now he's out for the foreseeable future. And that's a big loss to the bullpen because that's going to put everybody else back in positions that the Orioles really don't want them in. Kittredge was a big, big part of what they were hoping to get for that high leverage situations back end of the innings in the bullpen. And they're just not going to get that now. So that's a big loss. So injuries have been a concern for the Orioles for sure. One of the next concerns I have is with Cedric Mullins. Mullins is in a contract year. This is his big season. He's a free agent at the end of the year. Obviously, he wants to get a big payday. He didn't have a good second half with the Orioles, or just didn't have a very good season. I guess at the end of the year he started to heat up a little bit, but he didn't have a very good season overall with the Orioles. But it's a contract year for him, and he hasn't looked good in spring training. No home runs, 4 RBIs, batting 125 and 29 at bats with 0 steals. And I get it, it's spring training, but he hasn't looked good at all. And this is a concern. We don't want this carrying over into the season. So hopefully Mullins will get it going, because if he doesn't, then he becomes a strictly platoon player, and that's not what the Orioles want. And if he does become a platoon player, I don't think there's any chance the Orioles re-sign him as a platoon player. They want an everyday center fielder. So hopefully Mullins will turn it around, but I am a little bit concerned. Another guy in the outfield that I'm concerned about, outfield first base, is Ryan O'Hearn. O'Hearn is another one. He did have a bad second half of the season. He just seemed to stop hitting it at last year at the end of the season. And it's carried over into spring training. No home runs, 4 RBIs, batting 167 this spring. And he's going to be another one that, at this rate, he's not going to play, period, at all against lefties. And he's going to become a platoon player across the board. And if Mountcastle's really hitting and hitting well, he may not even play against a lot of right-handers. And that's really going to limit his at-bats. And then his value on this team decreases big time. So hopefully O'Hearn will turn it around and have a good start to the season, because the Orioles are going to need him. So we'll see. But his spring hasn't been good. And then last but not least, I want to talk about the bullpen. The bullpen was one of those parts of the Orioles that was considered at one point a strength going into this year. And now I can kind of see where it's a concern. Obviously, the injury to Kittredge has been a big deal. It's kind of really shaken up the entire bullpen of what they want to do. But also, too, just look at Sir Anthony Dominguez. Has an ERA of 23.14. Gregory Soto has an ERA of 5.5. Bautista has an ERA closing in on 7. And again, I get it. It's spring training, but you want to see these guys do well. And they're not. They're being hit, and they're being hit hard right now. Hopefully it changes as the season starts, but it's a concern. You don't want it to rumble into the season. And then all of a sudden, these games early on, we may not get wins because bullpens can't hold leads. And that could be an issue, because you need to win every game. Whether it's early in the season or late, every game's important. So we'll see. It's a concern. Hopefully the Orioles will right the ship on the bullpen side, and we'll be good to go. But either way, the Orioles are about ready to go for the regular season. I'm sure we'll be getting the entire roster really, really soon. Again, we got about 6 games left, 10 days away from opening day. I can't wait. It's going to be amazing. Fingers crossed on Gunnar Henderson that we get him back for opening day. Hopefully he gets in the lineup for these last few games and gets some at-bats. But we'll see. All right, gang, now it's out to you. What do you think? What's your concerns with the Orioles during spring training? Or what do you think has been a big positive during spring training? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And again, if you are new here, please consider subscribing to the channel and give us a thumbs up. Anyway, thanks for joining me, guys. I know this is kind of long-winded, so I appreciate it if you made it this far. Until next time, keep rooting for the O's and take care of yourselves and each other. Bye now.